In this video, I would like to demonstrate several of the features available when using the newly introduced Java adapters of MobileFirst Platform Foundation 7.0. Okay, so I will show how to create this adapter. I will show how to actually add what was called procedures previously, but now it's just basically a Java methods to that adapter, how to invoke those Java methods, how to make different type of endpoints, how to make GET requests, POST requests, etc., how to use various types of parameters, right? How to debug those adapters, and how to actually make those adapters communicate with various types of backends. So we'll probably cover both REST and SOAP approach. So let's start by creating a project. My project, hybrid application, well, my application. We'll use that later. Okay, so and here in adapters I can create the new MobileFirst adapter. The new adapter type is Java adapter, so I will call it my adapter. Okay, and package name will be my adapter. So once I finish creating this adapter, you will see that under the adapter folder you got a new structure. So this is brand new for MobileFirst Platform 7.0. Okay, so this is a Java adapter. It contains an XML file, which is less relevant since everything will be done using Java code. Right, it contains lib folder, so if you have your third-party Java libraries, you can put them here. And note that this lib folder is per adapter. So if you have several adapters, you can put your frameworks into lib folder for each adapters, and they will not collide. Okay, so they will have a completely encapsulated environment, completely different class loader. And of course, there is a source folder, a regular Java source folder that contains my adapter, package name, and 2 files. So Java adapters introduced by MobileFirst platform work according to JAX-RS standard. Okay, so if you're familiar with the JAX-RS specification, this shouldn't be new to you. If you're not familiar with JAX-RS, I strongly recommend learning about it because it's a very convenient way of actually exposing your services. So first file is my adapter application. That's basically the JAX-RS application, but we will not cover it in this video. We will talk about my adapter resource. So my adapter resource, it's kind of similar to a JavaScript file of the regular JavaScript adapter, okay, because this is where the adapter implementation actually resides. Okay, so I will start with deleting everything available here as a template. Okay, because I want to start from scratch, from empty implementation, and actually do everything from scratch. So now, first of all, as you can see, every time I do some little change in my adapter and save it, the development environment, the studio will automatically try to immediately deploy this adapter. So you don't have to deploy adapter manually every time you do any little change anymore, right? So currently it contains errors like that. That's right, that's not valid Java, so that's why it failed. Once I fix that and save, it will be successfully deployed. Secondarily, you will see WLResourceRequest class. Okay, so basically this is the class that provides you the APIs that were previously available in JavaScript adapters under WL.server namespace. Okay, so if you do API well, you need to create a procedure. We will see it pretty soon. Okay, once we create the first method. Okay, so how do I actually create methods in my adapters? How do I expose services? Let's try with something very, very simple. So let's have a public string say hello. Okay, that will return hello. Very basic function, okay, very basic Java method. So currently I want to make it a service of my adapter. Okay, so first of all, my adapter can be accessed by HTTP in different ways by using different HTTP methods. It can be GET, it can be POST, it can be any other HTTP method. So first of all, I will use annotation to actually say, hey, whenever a request is made to my adapter, okay, using GET method, okay, that's the function, that's the method I want you to trigger. Okay, so important thing is also to understand the path that will be used, the URL that will be used when communicating with this adapter externally. Okay, so to actually see it, we will do my adapter run as call MobileFirst adapter, right? This is also a brand new interface for calling MobileFirst procedures. Okay, so here you will see that adapter name is my adapter, and procedure name, well, currently we only have a single procedure, so it's my project. That's the name of the project. This is a fully qualified name. / adapters, and that's always the same. / my adapter, that's the name of my adapter. Okay, / users. Well, where this users is coming from, right? So in your adapter code, you can define path elements that you want your adapter to actually serve. Okay, so currently, by default, it's project name / adapters / adapter name / whatever you define here. So my adapter, let's call it API. Okay, so currently this is gonna change the invocation to API. Run as call MobileFirst adapter. Okay, so whenever HTTP request of type get method is used, will be made to your server / my project / adapter / my adapter / API. This invocation will be mapped automatically by the infrastructure to this specific function. So if I run it, okay, you will see hello. Okay, this is exactly what I want to see. Okay, now you can add more functions. Okay, for example, post. Okay, like say public string say hello using post. Okay, return hello from post. So what this actually means, yep, need to import. What this actually means, whenever request is made using get method, this function will be invoked. Whenever request is made using post HTTP method, this function will be invoked. So let's see how this works. Run as call MobileFirst adapter. So currently you can select either get or post. Okay, so if I gonna make post request, I will get hello from post. Okay. So this is very convenient if you want to support multiple methods and if you want to your backend adapters, your adapters to actually function according to REST specification. Now, it's not necessarily you return string, you can return any other type of data that JAX-RS support. Okay, so I really recommend you read the documentation for JAX-RS to see what your options are, because it can be pretty much anything from string to binary data. Okay, so let's stay with one method right now for simplicity. Now, in addition to specifying path here, right, you can also specify additional path components here. So for example, this will be say hello. Okay, nope, doesn't require here. So once I add this component, run as, the URL of invoking this method, this procedure, okay, actually changed to adapter / my adapter / API / say hello. Okay, so using this approach, you can make your URLs really verbose. So according to URL, you will understand what invocation exactly is made, right? And also, it is possible to have a unique URL for every single procedure or Java method in your adapter and actually filter them on firewall level or on some kind of API management level, which is very, very convenient. Okay, so now that we've seen how get, post, and path work, let's see how do we actually send parameters. So instead of just saying hello, I wanted to say hello and my name. Okay, so let's start by creating a parameter. So I will have a query parameter. Okay, I'm defining a query parameter. The value will be name. Okay. And it will be string name. So what does it mean here? Okay, what exactly is going on here? So this means that my adapter accepts a single parameter called name, right? So the invocation, the URL will contain name, okay? And it will be automatically resolved by the infrastructure to a variable of a string type called name. Okay, so I can use it here. So instead of hello, I can say hello plus name. Okay, so if I run it as is, call MobileFirst adapter, okay, I run it as is, I will get hello null, okay, because I haven't specified any name. So I can do run as and actually go to Query Parameters tab and say, okay, so the key is name, and the value gonna be Anton. So once I run this code, it will say hello Anton. So the query parameter was automatically resolved to name. So what query parameter basically means is, I'm going to paste here a little bit. So this is a sample query parameter. So basically the request is made to HTTP server port, your project name, we've already seen that, /adapters, /adapter name. Okay, so now you have path components. So in case of this, let's fill those blanks. So project name is my project. Adapter name is going to be my adapter. Here, path component is API / sayHello. And query parameters means that parameters are specified in this manner. You got a question mark and then name value pairs. Name value, name value. Okay, so this is how do you specify parameters using query param syntax. Okay, JAX-RS, which means Java adapters, support more ways to specify your parameters. Okay, so one of the very useful ways is this one. So instead of having your parameter as a part of the query param, okay, you can have it as your path param. So what this means, I'm changing this to path parameter. Okay, so instead of expecting your parameters in this manner, currently the adapter expects parameters sent like that. Okay, so the parameter becomes, instead of being a parameter, it becomes part of your path. Okay, so it might not be as useful for sayHello /name, but it definitely can be useful for things like get item and some kind of a item ID. Okay, instead of get item ID equals something like that. Okay, so basically this is RESTful way of getting things, and this is much more readable, much more convenient way to manage things. So let's just validate that this works. My adapter, run as, call MobileFirst adapter. So note that I was using query parameters before, but now I'm using path parameters. So, and you can see that the procedure name, the URL of the procedure now contains the name placeholder. Okay, so the key is name. The value is Anton. Let's make it 123 just to make sure we're getting the right thing. Okay, hello Anton 123. So we've seen several ways of getting parameters from client requests, okay, and actually using those parameters in your adapters. Now, since we're using Java here, okay, we can do multiple interesting things. Okay, so as I promised, WL Server API. What you can get from there? API dot. It can give you adapter API, which will allow you to actually call other adapters from this adapter. You can get analytics API if you want to report some activities that happen in this adapter to your analytics. You can get configuration API, which will allow you to actually get easy access to work like MobileFirst configuration properties, like JNDI properties well, in general. The push API that will help you to do get user subscription and all the functionality you can do that is push related, and security API, okay, which means getting identities of currently authenticated user, etc. So by using Workload Server API class, you can get all the functionality of the MobileFirst server. Now, in addition, you can leverage Java API for things like getting your request and directly accessing your request object and response object. Okay, so this is something also provided by JAX-RS infrastructure. So, for example, if I do context and I say I want to have a HTTP servlet request here. Okay, so what this basically means, every time this adapter, this code will be invoked, the request variable will automatically get a reference to the current request. Okay, so let's say I would like to have another get method. Okay, the path is going to be /get echo request headers. Okay, public string echo request headers. Okay, so and note that you don't have to use the same name here. So this can be called anything you want. The mapping is done using annotations and not using method name. Okay, so let's have something to actually hold those headers. Okay, and let's see how it works. So we'll need an enumeration of type string, enumeration, and from request we're gonna get header names. So this is the string enumeration for all the header names. Eventually we'll return response. Okay, now this is simple. Why enumeration has more elements? While we have more elements, header name equals next element, string header value equals request get header name. Okay, and response plus equals header name plus header value. Well, and let's add \n. So it would be separated. So basically here I'm getting direct access to the request, okay, request that was made to this adapter. Okay, I don't need anything extra. I have direct access to the request and I can get headers from there. So let's see whether it works. Run as call MobileFirst adapter. So echo request headers, no parameters are required, run. And as you can see, we got a bunch of different headers. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can just see all the headers of the request that was made to the server, which is very, very convenient. Okay, so similarly, you can do servlet response and get direct access to the response object. You can do request get session, and this way you can actually get access to the HTTP session or basically anything else that HTTP servlet request allows you to do. Okay, so next thing would probably be, this all looks really nice, but how do I debug it? Okay, and debugging your server is actually very important. Debugging your Java code of your adapter is very important. So let's try to put a breakpoint here, okay, and let's see how do we hit this breakpoint during the invocation. Now, the server, the MobileFirst development server, always will say started and synchronized, and it's important to understand that it always runs in a debuggable mode. So you can always debug your adapters. This statement is true for development server. Okay, this is not true for production server, which is never run in the debug mode unless you manually configure it to. Okay, but development server, the one found inside of MobileFirst Studio, is actually always runs in debug mode. So opening the Jvm Options file, you can see this line, okay, and basically this line means that you can connect to the port 10777 using your remote debugger and basically debug your codes, and this is exactly what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to debug configuration. I already got one here, but I'll delete it just to create a new one. Okay, so I'm doing remote Java application because the Java application I'm trying to debug, it's a remote one. It's running on a remote server, which is the MobileFirst development server. So this is the server that I want to connect to, and all I need to specify is the debugging port. So it's 10777. Okay, let me shrink this a bit so it will be visible. So once I have this configuration, I click debug. It will do, the MobileFirst Studio will do its magic, and basically in this state, if you didn't get any error messages, currently we're connected to debugger, okay, in debug mode. So in order to hit breakpoint, all we need to do is actually run as call MobileFirst adapter. Let's invoke. So it's already saying, hey, the debug perspective is designed. Basically, the breakpoint was hit. Okay, so do you want to open debug perspective? Yes, this is going to happen probably just one time. Okay, so as you can see, we've hit breakpoint. Now, invocation failed because the request was already timed out, but nevertheless, we hit the breakpoint. Okay, so the request actually timed out because we hit the breakpoint and we didn't return response in time. So currently, I can do the regular Java debugging. Okay, I can see my string response object. I can see my enumerator. Okay, so wait, and I can actually one by one, line by line, debug my code. I get header value, I got header name, etc. I can put more breakpoints. I can do step into, step out, whatever. The regular Java debugging is available for your convenience, so you can actually understand what's going on in your adapters. And this is very, very convenient for debugging purposes. So I'm going to disconnect debugger for now, okay, because we already know how to debug adapters. Okay, and so we've covered parameters, we've covered the servlet requests and debugging. Let's get simple. Okay, so let's see how do we invoke backend, okay, because in all JavaScript adapters you had all the WL server.invoke HTTP API, okay, so this API is not available in Java adapters because Java already has a very convenient and standard way of invoking HTTP backends, okay, or SQL services. Right, basically you need to do the regular Java code in order to make server invocations. Now, in order to demonstrate how this works, I'm going to use this website, WebService. Okay, it provides a bunch of different web services that can be accessed in a different way. So I'm going to use currency converter. Okay, we're going to be converting US dollars to euro. Okay, and we're going to do it in two different ways. Okay, so first we're going to do conversion using regular HTTP GET request, and then we're going to do SOAP. So if I go to conversion rate, wait, let me see. Yes, this is the specification I'm looking for. Okay, so I can see that this web service can be accessed in a following way. I need to go to www.webservicex.net, and this is the URL I need to use. Okay, let's see whether it works. Web service / okay, from currency USD to currency euro. Cool. So that's my exchange rate. Okay, I got my response as XML, and this is my exchange rate. So let's see how do I do exactly the same from my adapter. So I will most probably need to go to hit this URL. Okay, just one slash is required. Okay, so I will copy this URL, okay, and I'm back to my adapter. So this is still going to be my API. I'm going to change the paths to convert currency. Okay, as I said, the name of the function doesn't really matter. I can leave it as is, frankly. Okay, let it be remain sayHello. Okay, so basically what I want to do now is hit this URL and get the data and return the data from it. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, there are a couple of ways that can be done. This can be done. Okay, so we'll start with something very simple. We'll do a regular HTTP GET request. Note that we're using Apache HTTP Client, right? And this is something bundled inside of the MobileFirst platform. HTTP GET request new HTTP GET, and we need to specify the URL. So let's say our string URL equals HTTP web service. We need to have the final and from currency USD to currency euro. So this is our URL. Okay, so I've created a request. It contains, yes, it needs to be new HTTP GET. Okay, so we're still not returning anything, so we got this error. Okay, I got a request. Now I do closable HTTP client HTTP clients.create default. I'm using the default, most simple one. Closable HTTP response equals client execute request. So note, I'm not using any MobileFirst specific APIs. This is pure Java and Apache HTTP client. Now this is gonna throw exceptions, so let's just say, let's make it very simple. Throws exception. Okay. So we wouldn't have to do a lot of try catches here, but usually you should. Okay, so as the result of this, we will get HTTP entity response get entity. Okay, and we can use something like entity utils provided by Apache to parse HTTP entity to string. Okay, and string response string equal here return response string. Okay, so this looks nice. Okay, we don't have any errors, and this is pure Java code. Okay, so here I'm making regular HTTP GET request. Okay, to this URL, getting the data, parsing it as string, and returning this string. So as simple as it gets. Let's see. Run as convert currency, my new URL, run. Cool. And as promised, I got back my XML saying this is my exchange rate. Okay, so I made a request to my adapter, and adapter made request to this web service, and actually got the conversion rate from USD to Euro. Okay, so let's make this a little bit more complex. Okay, so convert currency, let's say from to. Okay, and we will have two path parameters. Path parameter value equals from string from. Okay, we will have path parameter value equals to string 2. Okay, so basically we're asking the entity that invokes our adapter to supply us two types of currency. Okay, and here instead of hard coding it, we will use from, and we will use to. Okay, so probably need to make it shorter. Okay. Yeah, this way it's a little bit more readable. Okay, so currently our procedure, okay, currency converter, convert currency, expecting two parameters, from and to. Okay, so if I invoke my adapter procedure, I need to specify path parameters. So from will be USD, and to will be Euro. Let's run it. Okay, and I got my conversion rate. Okay, so as you can see, I have the parameters actually output here in my MobileFirst debug console, so I can see path parameters. I don't have any query parameters or form parameters or headers. I just got path parameters, Euro and USD. Okay, good. So this is invoking a backend using regular Apache HTTP client and getting parameters from client side. Okay, so let's see how this actually works client-side wise. Before we are going to make it a little bit more complex, let's see how this actually works from a client side. So I got my application. We'll make it very, very, very simple. Okay, I got my application. It has index.html. So index.html will have a single button that will say get rates USD to Euro. Okay, so on click we'll do get rate. Okay, get conversion rate. Okay, so now let's go to main.js and we'll implement this function. Function get date. Okay, so here we're going to use the new class provided in MobileFirst 7.0 called WLResourceRequest. Okay, so this class is actually a wrapper around the RESTful functionality provided by adapters. Okay, and it also encapsulates the logic relevant for new security model that MobileFirst 7.0 has, but I will talk about this a little bit later. So we do request, and this is new WLResourceRequest. Okay, now we need to specify URL to our service. So if I run this again, you can see this is the URL. My project, adapters, adapter name, whatever I specified in my adapter API, convert currency, /from/to. So this is the long URL I need to specify. So /adapters /my project nope, it's other way around, /my project /adapters /my adapter. Okay, /API, right? Let's just paste this. /convert currency, USD, Euro. Okay, and I also need to specify the method I'm using. So this is WLResourceRequest.get. Okay, so I've created my request. Okay, I'm saying, hey, this request is gonna use the method it's using is get. Okay, so next thing is actually request.send, plain and simple. Then, once request is complete, once I got my response, I want to do alert response text, plain and simple. Okay, so this is a very basic application. It will make invocation here, right, and it will send the request, and once it's completed, then it will just alert the response text I got from my adapter. Okay, let's try to preview this application. Run as preview. Okay, very, very simple application. Let's click. Good. Something not working, 404 not found. My project. Oh yeah, that's right. I do not need to specify my project, okay? Because if I specify the relative URL, it will be done. It will be invoked relatively to the root of my project, and root of my project already contains project name. So this is my server URL, the root URL of my server. Okay, so I just need to specify whatever after it. So yes, my project /my project doesn't exist. Okay, so I've changed this, refreshed, get rate. Okay, and that's basically the XML I got from all the way from Web Service X. Okay, this is the conversion rate. So this is nice. I actually want to have this on a screen. Okay, so this is the basic application that makes invocation and gets the data through adapter from all the way from Web Service X. Okay, so now let's see how do we make our adapter a little bit more advanced, right? Actually looking for this file by not using a very simple approach of HTTP GET, Apache GET, right? But trying to kind of make it a little bit more complex by using SOAP requests. Okay, so in addition to GET, this service, this Web Service X currency converter also supports SOAP, okay, and they even provide WSDL for that. So if I open a WSDL file, I will see the web service definition, okay, and I want to have kind of an easy, convenient way of actually invoking this SOAP service, right? So SOAP usually starts with working with your WSDL and converting it to the way it's easy to use. Okay, so you can use the same approach here. Okay, but instead of you know, the URL will be the same, but you can manually create the SOAP envelope body. Okay, and you can use SOAP UI, for example, for that, to create SOAP envelope body, okay, and then send it to your backend as string, right? But it's kind of cumbersome, it's kind of inconvenient, and you will need to manually parse everything you get from the SOAP endpoint, but so this is not that convenient. Okay, so we will use SOAP the way it was designed to be used. Okay, so I already got the workspace in my dashboard. So adapters, this is my adapter, cd my adapter. Okay, cd source. Okay, so I've navigated to the source code folder of my adapter, because what I want to do right now is to use to import that WSDL, to import this where is it? To import this WSDL and use Java utility to actually parse this WSDL and produce me Java objects that I can use. Okay, so I'm using WS import utility. This is something that comes with JDK. Okay, it basically means web service import. I'm gonna use -keep flag, which means keep source files. Okay, because by default it will import web service. It will generate the relevant classes, but it will not keep the source file. It will just keep the .class files. I do want .java files to also be available because I do want to work with source code. Now, and what I need to do, the next thing is basically the parameter, the URL to that WSDL. Okay, so it's parsing WSDL, generating code, compiling code. So if I return to my development studio and I refresh it, I got new folder, net web service X. All of this was created by this little utility, web service import. Okay, so it's actually parsed WSDL and it created Java classes for me. Now, as I've said, I do not want to work with class files. I just want Java files. But usually, if you don't care about the code, the source code of those web services, of those SOAP services, you can just not generate Java classes. But I do want to actually be able to see them. Okay, so I will work with Java classes only. Now, if we go back here, so as you can see, this website provides you with sample SOAP envelopes. So you need to have SOAP envelope, you need to make a post request, you have a SOAP action of conversion rate, you need to have a SOAP envelope, right? Inside you need to have a SOAP body. So inside of it, you need to have an element called conversion rate. Inside you have from currency to currency, and all of those currencies you have it as enum. Okay, so you have a predefined values, right? And as a result, you will get a specific specifically formatted SOAP body. Okay, so as I've said, you can build this manually. You can treat it as string. Okay, build it manually and just send to this URL. This will work. This is definitely not convenient and definitely not the right way to go. The reason we've imported all of those classes, we've parsed the WSDL and created all of those classes is because we want it to be much simpler than that. Okay, and much simpler than that, I mean something like, so instead of this, I will just comment it out for now. Okay, I'm going to have something like currency converter. Okay, so this is the class that was generated for me. I haven't wrote it. This is something that was generated for me. Okay, currency converter equals new currency converter. So note that this is a currency converter, and I got a implementation, right? So it extends service. It's something that extends service, and it's a web service client. Okay, so you really need to be familiar with JAX web services in order to understand this in detail, but I'll try to put it simple. So currency converter, that's a web service client that was generated for me automatically. Okay, it was generated automatically by this nifty utility. Okay, and I would like to use it as is because that utility parsed the WSDL file, web service definition file. Okay, and it generated for me client code to actually communicate to that web service easily. So I already got all the relevant namespaces, I got the URL of that web service, I got pretty much everything I need. Okay, so I want to use it as is. So currency converter, I'm creating that client. Okay, now I will need to have a SOAP that I will send. Okay, currency converter, let's call it currency converter. SOAP equals, so from currency converter, I'm getting currency converter SOAP. Okay, and all of those APIs were generated for me. Okay, I just need to use them. Okay, so double let's call it conversion rate. Okay, because I know that conversion rate, that's something that I want to get, and it's double, equals currency converter SOAP conversion rate, and I need to specify from currency to currency. So from currency, I got currency dot USD, currency dot euro. Note that I haven't done anything to create those files, almost anything. Okay, I've just parsed the WSDL, and all of this was created for me automatically. Okay, so now all I need to do is return conversion rate plus conversion rate. That's pretty much it. Okay, so in 3 lines of code, I'm invoking SOAP web service, okay, and getting data. So if you look again here, okay, so this is the envelope. It has a conversion rate element that has from currency and to currency fields. So this is exactly what I have here. I have the currency converter SOAP. This is the SOAP, okay? So, and inside of it, of that SOAP, I'm pointing to conversion rate. Okay, once again, this is conversion rate. And I'm specifying 2 parameters that it expects, from and to. So as you can see here, it looks for from currency and to currency. So from currency and to currency. So, and Java classes are generated for me automatically. So I've saved my file, and let's see how my application behaves now, right? So I'm making a request. Let's see, well, I'm getting conversion rate. Conversion rate, note that currently it's just a text format. Okay, I'm getting my conversion rate, and this is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so, oh yeah, one thing. I'm using hard-coded values for USD and Euro, and I probably want to use the parameters I'm getting. So instead of USD and Euro, I can do currency from value from, and currency from value to. Okay, from to. Okay, so this will most probably work. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here, why it isn't working. Pending. Oh yeah, probably it's just a timeout. Let's try again. Just a timeout. Okay. Oh yeah. So just to make sure I'm not lying, let's try to convert from USD to USD. We should probably get around 1. Did get pending? Yeah, for some reason it starts to be slow. Yep, we got 1.0. This is exactly what we expected. So once again, this is client calling the adapter. This is adapter making request to external SOAP service, web service. Okay, so plain and simple. So the last thing I would probably want to show is that how do you invoke your adapters not using MobileFirst platform Studio, like for example, not using this interface, okay? And how do you invoke your adapters not without the need to actually build mobile application, okay? So for example, if you have something like Postman, or you're using CURL or any other kind of testing let's say testing software, okay, how do you make invocations to your adapter? How do you call your RESTful adapters without actually using client from MobileFirst Studio or client from, well, the client applications? Okay, so let's try to use Postman. Okay, this is widely known, known tool for making HTTP requests, and I think it would be great at a showcase to actually demonstrate how this works. So all I need to do is to take the URL. Okay, so I want to just copy this URL. Okay, and I want to add it to Postman, but it's going to be HTTP localhost team, right? That's the right one. No, 120. 180. Okay, slash my project slash adapter, and from USD to Euro. Okay, let's see how it works. Send. Missing authorization. So this actually makes sense, okay, because all the adapters are by default protected. Okay, by default, they check whether the client is actually authorized to communicate with that adapter. Okay, so we haven't seen anything like this missing authorization, because when you're using the development environment to test your adapters, when you're using this dialog, the development environment will actually generate the relevant authorization information for you and will inject it to your header. So if you remember previously when we were checking the header, the request headers, we had this big, huge header called authorization. Okay, so this is generated for you automatically when you use this dialog or basically tools provided by MobileFirst environment. The same happens when you use WLResourceRequest. Okay, so let's see for this piece of code. So WLResourceRequest, technically, internally, it also receives missing authorization. Okay, 401 with missing authorization. It also receives it. Okay, but it goes to the server and it knows how to actually obtain that authorization information. Okay, so if you go through the network traces, you will actually see this happening. Okay, and if we go to this specific request, this is the request made to adapter, right? Convert currency. If you look at request headers, you will see the big authorization header containing the authorization token. Okay, but how do you actually get this token when you're using a third-party software? Okay, how do you actually make this authorization? So let's add this request to collection. Okay, this collection text test. This is the request, so just so we have it saved. Okay, and instead of going to my project slash adapters slash this, okay, we will go to authorization slash version 1 slash test token. Okay, add to collection test. Let's just, it needs to be post. Okay, this is important. And let's also rename it get test token. Okay, so this request will go to the authorization endpoint and will ask for test token. This feature is only available on development environment. Okay, you do not have test tokens on standalone production environment, which is very important. Okay, so let's try sending this. If you send this request, you will immediately get authorization header with the value it needs to contain. So whatever is left to do is to take this value. Okay, go get back to your original request, the real one, the one that's actually going to adapter, add header called authorization, and insert value. So once you have your authorization token as a header, you can make a request. You see that it takes a longer time. Okay, error could not parse the response. So, okay, it cannot parse, make it pretty print, and I'll immediately tell you why. But if we go for the raw response, you can actually see that we did get the response. Okay, so the reason it couldn't parse it for pretty print is because we're not specifying any specific content type for that response. We will do it right now. So, but if you look at the raw response, we're actually getting our response. Okay, conversion rate, whatever is required. So this way, once again, you can go to the authorization in version 1 test token endpoint to make a post request and get your access token. Okay, so this is just for testing purposes. This is just to prevent, to be able to invoke your adapters. Okay, and once you get this token, you can specify it as one of the headers. authorization header and this value, and basically this will allow you to get the data to communicate with the adapter. Okay, now let's see, for the last thing we want to tell it what content type we provide. So there is another annotation called produces, and here let's produce text HTML. Okay, plain and simple, because this is exactly what we're producing. So if I make this back to the pretty, if I make this request again, okay, I got my conversion rate, and my content type is now text HTML. Okay, as specified. So now it's able to print it because it knows it's text. So I guess that would be it for adapter functionality. So we've seen how to create adapter, we've seen how to add various methods to adapter, how to support the various HTTP verbs with different Java methods, Java procedures in your adapter, how to define various URLs, okay, for your adapter procedures. Once again, this is fully RESTful, so you can define your URLs the way it's convenient and the way it's according to REST. So for example, you can use path parameters, which is a very convenient way. Okay, so we've seen how to get a direct access to request object, and you can do also the same with response object, and also how to get all the MobileFirst server API. Okay, so we've seen how to debug your adapters, very simple, by connecting a remote debugger to the port 10777 by default. Okay, and then we've seen how to invoke your backend using either regular Apache HTTP client, plain and simple, or by actually parsing WSDL that backend provides and using Java classes. Okay, so, and in addition, we've seen how to invoke those adapters from MobileFirst Studio, from mobile application, okay, and from Postman, all three possible ways. So this is just a brief intro. Adapter provide a lot of different functionality. Java adapters are really powerful, and I strongly recommend going to our documentation website, to tutorials, to actually see a lot of information, different information for adapters in general and Java adapters in particular.